Hey guys, it's Krim here. I'm sorry that I haven't made a video in a really long time. It's just that storytime animated videos are kind of a little bit more time consuming, and especially with my time being taken up as I work and also working on my horror visual novel game, my time is definitely divided in those two main things in my life. But since I still do like to make these videos for you guys, I decided to do something a little bit more different. I thought that I could show you guys how to do expressions. So I'm going to be making a tutorial on this here. I hope that my tips here will give you some insight on how to do expressions a little bit more differently, hopefully easier for you to do, kind of give you some ideas for you to implement in your own art. And I will admit I have been inspired a little bit by Lavender Town to do this, so I hope that I'm doing a good job for you guys. So the first expression that I'm going to be doing here is happy or pleased. With the first example that I did on the left is going to be showing kind of a regular kind of do of that expression, kind of typically what you've done maybe when you're younger, or you tried to implement sort of a happy expression, but it still doesn't look quite right. Like it's just kind of moving the mouth a little bit, and that's kind of it. And I'm just adding a random character here just so you can kind of easily identify it as a character. And with the second one, I definitely switched out the pose. I actually changed it a little bit by making his head tilt to kind of look like he's leaning into himself a little bit, to give that emotion of feeling maybe nervous or kind of embarrassed perhaps. And I tried to play around with the expression a little bit, and I was having a little bit of a hard time until I actually got the feeling right, like where I wanted it to be. Typically when you're smiling, your cheeks kind of go up into your eyes, and it really shows that expression where you are being affected by that emotion. And sometimes incorporating mixes of feelings, especially in the one on the right, is kind of between being shy and also being happy. It definitely has a more warm feeling to it, and that's kind of what I was trying to do, while the other one on the right was like he kind of looked like a robot. And so the second emotion is anger. This one I kind of did just a pouty expression for him, something that sometimes you see with characters that are a little bit more childish, which is fine. You can incorporate anger like that if you like, but I like to go for something a little bit more intense to really get across of how they really are feeling, instead of just moving the eyebrows and the mouth a little bit. As I'm moving on to the right expression, I'm definitely making him come up towards you, kind of being a little bit more forward with his feelings. And that's something that anger does to you, where when you're angry, you really want to express it to get across the message that you are not happy. Scrunching the eyebrows furrow kind of down where they kind of make creases is a big huge indicator of anger. Had the idea of how animals kind of snarl a little bit, so I added that to the nose a little bit. The mouth, I made it open with a little bit of his gums kind of showing. Kind of like wolves in a sense, where they do that to kind of snarl a little bit. And moving on from that, I decided to do a second part to the anger bit, which is where they actually start to look like they might be a little bit irritated or annoyed. I thought that this is also not an extreme case of anger, but it's a subtle hint that someone is offended by what you said. This character doesn't have the gleam in its eyes, their eyebrows are also furrowing. It's not quite there yet, but as you can see, it's similar to the one on the left. The only difference is that it's a little bit more kind of telling a message or a story. They're facing away from you, but they're looking right at you, whereas I am trying to show that they don't have the same idea as you, where they're facing away to show that they are thinking differently, but they're looking at you almost in a judging way. So this could also show that they are about to say something to you, to tell you how they really feel about what you said or did, and it's really just trying to move the body in a way or do subtle hints where you can see that they want to say something to you. And I think that's a really important thing to the beginning of anger, is that it's a sort of a slow transition from the beginning of anger to full on, and I think that really gives a powerful message of how they really feel. And And moving on, I decided to do a sad expression, which is one of my favorite expressions that I really like to do. And I did sort of the run-of-the-mill eyebrows furrowing up and the mouth kind of turning upside down. It's a very simple, subtle expression where it's okay to do this too if you just want the character to kind of hurt by something, but I like to do something a little bit more telling of a story, and that's really what I'm trying to get across here. And I did a female this time since I already did 2 boys in a row. Moving on from the right expression, I made the character begin to hold themselves and kind of curl up into this like ball. And when I do the eyes, I added these creases under the eyes and also a crease between the brow to really show that they are deeply affected by something that has hurt them. Typically when you are really sad, you kind of get this sort of ugly expression, and you might not want to hear that, but humans typically, when they're really upset, they are in their most vulnerable state. And I had the tears running down her face, kind of dripping down her chin, to really show that she is still being affected deeply by something. It's really trying to show that whatever it is that she's going through, you can almost tell what it might be. That's her trying to look away. She's feeling ashamed. She's not looking at anybody. She's mostly kind of looking down at the ground, and wherever she's looking, that's how she feels. She feels down about herself. She feels maybe even a little bit guilty about something. And I made her kind of bite her lip a little bit to also kind of give the indication that she might even want to punish herself. You know, sometimes you feel like you just really feel so stupid where you kind of just want to hurt yourself in a way. And I think it's kind of normal for that to happen unless you are like really, really sad. And when I added the blush, I added it kind of just to the nose, to the cheeks, everywhere, including the eyes. Because the eyes, I realized that when you're crying, they get really, really red, and your eyes start to kind of glow like gems, where they start to get like more color into them. And that's how you can tell if someone is crying, because the white part of their eyes are kind of pink or red, and you can definitely see the emotion in those eyes. And moving on from that, I decided to do an embarrassed expression. This one is a little bit more different as I kind of added blush to the cheeks, and the expression is a little bit better this time. You can do something like this for a really cute character if you like, but again, I think that we can definitely do something to kind of make that better. When I started doing the right example, I made their pupils shrink. I added the blush right away, kind of made the eyebrows furrow up in the same way, and also their cheeks kind of go up, like they're kind of smiling, but not really. Because when you're embarrassed, you still kind of have that nervous smile thing going on. That happens typically a lot with these characters where they're embarrassed. You know that you get that warm feeling sensation when you're really embarrassed by something. And I made her hands go up to kind of try to hide her face, because that's kind of how you feel. And you kind of sort of get sweaty sometimes where your whole entire body is heating up because of that emotion, which is why I started adding a little bit more of the sweat marks on her to kind of show that she is deeply affected by this emotion, where she desperately is trying to hide it, but she's doing a terrible job at it. And that's her, like, I think personality coming through as well. And definitely adding the blush is also really helpful when you're trying to get that embarrassed emotion across. She does not want to be seen right now. She really just kind of wants to hide away, and you can definitely tell with this pose and her expression. And that is all. I hope that my tips on expressions really helped you guys out, and I hope that it'll help you in future creations of whatever art that you're doing. I actually had a really fun time doing these, and I hope that if you guys like these, you could tell me in the comments. Tell me what you guys think of these, because these are relatively easy for me to do, and I would be able to get these out a lot faster than most of my other videos, like reviews and story time. So if you like them, please give me a like, or tell me what you think in the comments. Tell me what you might want me to do in my next video on tutorials. I'll probably be able to do these a lot faster and respond a lot quicker too, but since I'm working on the game right now, it still might be a little bit slow. But yeah, thank you so much for watching my video, and I hope that you are inspired to draw, and you can show me what you've created. Maybe you can show me examples. Me and Damien are looking forward to what you guys will say.